I'm very much against birth control because they're very hormonal for women. Our lives, our structure as women is all about our hormones. And we're not even educated to understand our hormones. You want me to start taking this pill? What is this pill actually going to do to me? Because the effects of all of this stuff on women is very hard. Our cardiovascular effect,
Right, yeah.
on our blood vessels, on even our memories, on our hormonal imbalances, on libido effects. There's so much it affects in us. And funny thing, men were given the same option. They were like, no, we can't take the pill. Those effects, we can't.
Are there pills for men?
There's a pill that's currently in the works for men, and I'm heavily supporting that.
Really? So you support birth control but not for women?
For men, because if we really look at the science,
Yeah.
a woman can only get pregnant once a year.
Yeah.
A
Once
man-
a year?
Once a year.
Or once a month?
Once a year.
Well, okay, all right, okay, fine.
So you can only carry a
Because now I'm pregnant, I cannot, yes.
You
okay.
cannot try. If you finish your 9 months,
That's
you won't
it.
get pregnant. You can
Yes.
get pregnant again, but you won't finish the whole year of your
Yeah.
pregnancy, right? But if you do that comparison with a man, how many women can a man get pregnant in an hour?
24 in a day.
Thank you.
literally.
So who really should be on a contraceptive?
Right, yeah.
That's what she said.
Hi guys, my name is Murugi Munyi and I am here on the set of That's What She Said vodcast, about to have a conversation with a woman who I'm sure is going to pique your interest when it comes to women's health and women's issues. Can I let you introduce yourself, please, madam?
Oh, why, thank you very much.
Yeah, all your 5 names. Sema sasa.
Apana, we don't say all 5 of them. They're not the government.
Okay.
So Malika Oma is I.
Right.
I am a creative artist. I'm currently focusing on photography, and apart from that, health as a woman is very important for me, and physical health to be very, very, very precise, and our medical health to be very precise. There's so much we don't know, and there's very little we know, and there's so much to figure out. So I have literally made it one of my purposes in life to make sure my fellow girlies
Yeah.
know what are these people actually, what's going on.
Right.
What's going on?
Have you always been interested in women's health, or where does that come from, like in terms of you personally?
So it actually stems from my mom. Thank God for that woman. She really indoctrinated in me like health and the importance of it. I used to think she's crazy. At times I was like, Mom, you're being a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Water is not going to cure everything. And right now I'm the one who says water is curing everything.
Drinking water.
Drinking water
Right.
cures everything. You remember when you have a headache and your mom is like, umekunywa maji?
It's true. It's true. You're right.
It's very, very, very true. And also my own personal struggles with my health made me realize, damn, there's a lot I know, there's a lot I don't know. And they keep thinking that all women are the same.
Right.
And we're all very different.
Yeah. Okay. So when you say personal struggles with your own health, what have you personally gone through that you would say you struggled with?
So when I was younger, I was diagnosed with H. pylori, which in
Hiyo nimepitia.
layman's language niliambiwa ni pimples tu kwa tumbo they just pop of acid.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what's going on? And the doctors really wanted me to have a surgery. Oh, we need to get in there and see properly what's going on. But my mom was like, no. She's already had an endoscopy, 2 of them. Why does she now need to go for a whole surgery? We're like, you know what, let's go to a nutritionist. And that's how I started changing how I eat, how I'm looking, how I'm viewing food, how I'm viewing junk food, or
Right. Yeah.
how I'm when I crave for things, how is that coming about? And then when I got into my 20s, it was just also just being more intimate with my body,
Okay.
because I'm like, this is what I have for the rest of my life until I die.
Yeah.
So the best I can do is take care of it and just try to understand it more. So that's really what pushed me to just discovering way, way more about women's health.
Okay, that's really interesting. You said as you were beginning that there's so much that we don't know about women's health. What is that? What are those things that you say we don't know?
Okay, so let me give you one fact. Do you know that how women are giving birth in hospitals is actually the wrong way?
Someone said that to me, I think earlier, and I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
You can actually Google this.
What do you mean the wrong way?
It is, we are not supposed to be lying on our backs because that is defying gravity. So back in I think it was 1500s or 1800s, there was a king in France who really liked what women look like when they're giving birth. And he was like, y'all should do it on your back so that I can sit down and watch as you guys are giving birth. And the Americans took it and ran with it, and the whole world is now doing it. But here in Africa, we were doing it the right way, squatting in fields, uh, going on all fours like an animal. That's how you're actually supposed to give birth, because gravity is supposed to help you. How are you supposed to push something forward if you're pulling it down? It becomes very difficult. So that's something that many women don't know. And the risk of even death within natural childbirth is way, 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 way high. So that's one thing that we already didn't know. It's already against how our body is working as women.
That is crazy. Because actually, now that you say it, why are we lying down? Actually, it makes sense. Even when you want to go, when you're going to the loo, when you're taking a dump, it's like you'll be downwards like this. So why would we be any other way?
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's how a child comes out. That's why you end up pooping also when women are giving birth.
Exactly.
So it's literally the same merit. And it's, why are we lying on our backs?
Why indeed are we lying on our backs? So how accessible is this information that you're
You
giving?
can
Because
Google that. You can actually Google it and find it on Google.
right.
It's just a matter of being curious. Like you see something and you're like, okay, is this factual or is it a lie? Let me go and look at the history behind it.
Right.
And you actually find it there and you're like, okay, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Another fact of what is actually going on now with the whole cesarean C-section happening, it's happening mostly in the West, where women are being encouraged to have more of C-sections than natural birth. And I was like, okay, why is that?
Yeah.
So I started going into the rabbit hole, and I found out it's the placenta itself is has nutritional value, and they are actually sold to different medical companies because there's some properties that it has that are good for medicine and just for the body. That's why there are women who actually eat their placentas.
Yeah, I've seen people putting them like in capsules or something like that. Alafu you're drinking it.
It's the
I have
nutrient
heard that
factor.
it has some nutritional value.
It's
Is that a
far-fetched.
conspiracy theory or is that true?
It's far-fetched. It sounds very far-fetched.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that sounds a little bit crazy, guy.
Yeah.
But if you sit down and really think about it,
Yeah.
why are they encouraging? Because when the placenta goes through now the birth canal, it's seen as the value of the nutritional value of it like goes down.
Really?
Nguvu yake inaenda chini.
Somebody who has had 3 C-sections and I don't know even, I don't know anything about placenta. Even actually, I have never even seen any of my placentas despite the fact that I've been awake for my 3 C-sections. And now that you see it, I'm like, where would I
They're
know
making
where they are?
money. They're making money out of your placenta, girl.
Really?
Yep, people are making. I don't know if how it is here right now in Africa, but I know in the West that's something that's
Right.
a thing.
So as I hear you speak, I'm like, okay, clearly there's a lot of things that happen to our bodies or with our bodies that we don't necessarily know. And if I'm asking myself, I'm being honest with myself, like, what's the reason why I don't know them? It's probably because, like, the information that we get, if you go somewhere, your gynecologist gives you information or doesn't give you information, whatever they say, you're gonna trust
You're gonna
it.
trust it,
Right? And like, so how then do we overcome that? Because you don't know the information you don't know.
Yes,
It's like I don't know what to Google for unless it's something which comes into my frame of reference and I'm like, oh, by the way, where is my placenta? Which would never have crossed my mind.
True.
So how do we then bridge that gap of like finding out the information that we don't know?
I think the problem is it's generally a bigger problem. It's a bigger picture because even research for women began in 1977, the 1970s, and you're like, but in 500 SBS, that's before Christ.
Yeah.
That's when actually people were doing medical research.
Right.
Then you thought in 1970s is when you're like, oh, let's not do it for women.
Yeah.
So there's already such a big gap. So that's why I was like, there are things we know. There's literally the known knowns that we know, and there's the unknown knowns that we actually really don't know.
Yeah.
And it's just because that bridge is so big.
Yeah.
And then when you even come to the medications that women are under, for example, I'm very much against birth control because they're very hormonal for women. Our lives, our structure as women is all about our hormones. And we're not even educated to understand our hormones. So I think the first step individually will be sit down and be like, okay, what are the hormones as a woman I have? I have all of these hormones. Okay, how do they function in a day? Okay, by the end of the week, how do they move along? Because that helps you be able to get more in tap with yourself as a woman.
Right.
Because when they were coming up with the calendars, people knew, even in African society, they knew that a month has passed because of the moon. And how would we know we're done on another cycle?
Yeah.
because of the moon. So we're very in tune to nature, but we've been disconnected from nature because of the things that we're also putting inside us. So I think it's also us to be like, okay, you want me to start taking this pill. What is this pill actually going to do to me? Because the effects of all of this stuff on women is very hard. Our cardiovascular effect,
Right, yeah.
on our blood vessels, on even our memories, on our hormonal imbalances, on libido effects. There's so much it affects in us. And funny thing, men were given the same option. They were like, no, we can't take the pill. Those effects, we can't.
Are there pills for men?
There's a pill that's currently in the works for men, and I'm heavily supporting that.
Really? So you support birth control, but not for women?
For men, because if we really look at the science,
Yeah.
a woman can only get pregnant once a year.
Yeah.
A
Once
man-
a year?
Once a year.
Or once a month?
Once a year.
Well, okay, all right, okay, fine.
So you can only carry a
Because now I'm
pregnancy.
pregnant, I cannot, yes.
You
okay.
cannot be pregnant. If you finish your 9 months,
That's
you won't
it.
get pregnant. You can
Yes.
get pregnant again, but you won't finish the whole year with your
Yeah.
pregnancy, right?
Mm.
But if you do that comparison with a man,
You
how
can-
many women can a man get pregnant in an hour?
24 in a day.
Thank you.
literally.
So who really should be on a contraceptive?
Right, yeah.
Who
Who's
really
so
should be on a
right.
contraceptive?
But now when you say, okay, I'm against birth control, because such a statement is very, 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 to me in my heart, I'm just like, what do you mean? And I'm coming from the point of view of my dad is a gynecologist. So for me, things like to do with women's health, reproductive health, it's just things which have always been in my purview of knowledge. I've just always known them. But I recognize that not everyone, not all women know those things. But when I think about what is the, like I get that birth control has really heavy negative consequences on a woman's body. But what are the consequences of a woman not having access to birth control or contraception? Which do you think is worse? Because to me, this one seems worse.
It's worse. I think, let me rephrase it. I don't like hormonal birth control.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because that is messing up with your natural system as a woman.
Yeah.
Because even a P2 pill, the morning after pill, do you know how hard it is for your body to flush
Yeah.
those
I've
things
heard
out of
that.
your body?
Yeah.
It's so hard for your body to flush it out. It's like you see Panadol, the more you take it, your body gets used exactly. Same thing. Your body gets used to it and you're like, oh, I got a P2. I took a P2. Why am I pregnant? I followed the steps. Why am I pregnant? You know. And even from the case of you mentioned that your father is a gynecologist.
Yeah.
It actually reminded me of a story I was hearing on a podcast. And Halle Berry, she's getting into menopause, and she was herself is saying there's not enough research done on menopause itself.
Yep.
And
I've heard that.
Menopausal research began in the 1851, something in the 1800s. And the pill was then created in 1960s.
Right.
So it's okay. It took you this long to do research about this one thing that is, it's something women can't escape.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, we can't escape menopause. And menopause is actually the goal. Perimenopause is the nightmare. So when you get to menopause, you're like, I made it. When you're in perimenopause is when your body...
Menopause is just before...
Yes, it's before
Right.
menopause.
Okay.
So that's when your body is really fighting with you. Things are starting to reverse. One stage of your life is literally shutting down. So that your other stage of your life, because as women, our main job is to pass down knowledge and wisdom so that now you're able to fully enter into that role. But if you don't even know when you're perimenopausal, you're like,
I know.
There's so
and
many
the rate
women who
can
don't even
start
know.
mid-30s. I'm in my mid-30s. So, like, and they'll be saying, like, now you'll... And the funny thing, now, when we talk about how people just haven't done enough research on women's health, the exact same symptoms you're told about for periods is the same ones for menopause. So you'll just be like, but this is just the same thing that, I'm sweating, I'm bleeding for long, okay, I'm feeling some pain here, but it's like, it could be your birth control, it could be your period, it could be just, I don't know, my body has just decided, it could be menopause, like, God,
There's so much we
it is
don't
hard
know.
to be a woman.
And then they're saying they're copy pasting symptoms.
Right,
They're
exactly.
That's just exactly what you've said. They're like, oh, maybe you're on your period, but you're probably not on your period. Because like with the example of Halle Berry, she thought she had an STI. She actually thought she had an STI, and she accused her boyfriend. Like, you gave me an STI. It's like he got tested. Like, I'm clean. I told you.
Yeah.
And her own gynecologist told her, I don't know what's going on. Because she tried going to pee and it was so painful. And he was like, I'm sorry, but I actually don't know what's going on. So she had to go to a female gynecologist
Who was like,
girl, is perimenopause knocking on the door?
So is it that the healthcare industry or the health industry then just doesn't care about women? Is it lack of funding? Is it the fact that there just hasn't been enough time that has passed of women being considered women? Because obviously there has been like a long history of like there was a time women couldn't even vote. It's just recently women started voting. So like women couldn't vote, women couldn't have bank accounts, couldn't have whatever. So obviously even health is catching up. But do you feel like enough emphasis is being put on like researching things to do with women?
I think now, in actually 2025, is when there's now some voicing out of more research towards women.
Yeah.
I think it's also because of the research that I did. They thought that we're all the same. They were like, you guys are just a weaker version of men. So they thought, oh, we're all the same. And that's why all research was mostly male dominated. Even when they're doing with the mice, when they're doing mice tests, they always did mostly with male mice. So it's
so you as a woman, even the rat
wanachukua
be a male
Charlie,
rat.
not the female rat, like y'all are the same, but we are not the same. And as you're saying, I think it's an element of wanting to control women because there's a lot of power that we house.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power. Right now, women in their 20s are not getting pregnant. They are not. Women in their 40s and above are the ones who are having more children than women in their 20s, which you're like, okay.
Mechanuka, you guys.
Yeah. And then we're like, we can't just, for me, I find it having somebody to be the father of my child, that's a privilege.
It really is.
In my opinion, it's a privilege. And for you to be someone's father, you have to earn it.
Yeah.
And let me give you one more fact, actually. And I think the chainsaw machine, right? Do you know that when it was being first invented, it wasn't invented for timber? It was invented to aid in childbirth. Yes, when a woman is the baby's at breech and they're not able to push the baby out, they cut the pelvis and they're like, come baby, come.
I did not sign up for this.
And then they're like, oh wait, this actually works better in the timber industry. Timber industry, do you want it? Here you go.
So they would sacrifice the woman's life to get the baby, because obviously she's not surviving that.
Yes. And women have always been seen as, your work is just to give us heirs. Your work is to give us children. Boys, specifically. Not girls. Boys.
I need to breathe. I need to breathe through that. Well, okay, at least, okay, I don't know. Sometimes when I have certain conversations, I'm like, how much of how many strides have we really taken? Or are we just at the same place that we were, before? Because I feel like even still today, there are a lot of people who see women still as like, your work here is to please men. Your work is to, reproduce. Your work here is just to raise these children or whatever. And that's why cook and clean. And that's why there isn't as much of an emphasis on like, oh, I'm feeling pain. It's like, yeah, how many women feel pain? Just swallow that pain or whatever. But that's why conversations like this are so important, because it's like eye-opening, to say the least. Already I have to go Google chainsaw. I also have to go and Google
how is we're giving birth.
Thank you, that one, because it's very problematic. Very, very problematic. Yeah.
And it's honestly very crazy. So here in Africa, we've actually been getting it right. And then colonization happened and just the world shifting happened.
Yeah.
And it really influenced us as a people. Because even in matters of when women were sick, natural remedies were taken. That's turmeric, that's cloves, that's your ginger, that's your garlic. That's what has always been the thing for us. And it worked very well like cloves is very good for fertility. Turmeric is very good for helping with, it's an antioxidant, helps you with your skin, helps you with your hair, helps you with so much of balancing. So there's so much we don't know, or it feels more like they've been hiding so much has been hidden from us.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh, we're trying to rediscover it.
Oh my God, yeah.
But
if we had more time, I would have really wanted to explore these other things. But for sure, I'm going to pick your mind after this. And make sure you catch our episode on women's health. I will be discussing the disparities between the research done on men and the research done on women and what we can do to bridge that gap. Thank you, Malika.
Anytime.
That's what she said.